everybody. I'm Matt with Option Omega. Thanks for checking out this video. We had a video last year that went viral and we still get questions about it almost every day. Get messages, DMs, comments. It's a really simple trade. It's a reverse iron condor. It's a Rick. It's super easy and get a lot of questions about it still. So we thought it'd be interesting and a good time to do a follow-up on that strategy and see how it's been holding up in 2025. So let's take a look. Okay, here's a backtest in the video, and we did it in mid-November. And just to give a quick rundown, it's very simple. It's an unmanaged trade that enters at 9:32, and you are modeling a trade in this backtest where you buy a at the money put and call, and then sell an out of the money put and call a 0.5% away. So it's a reverse iron condor, or you could call it a reverse iron fly. But what you're doing is you're buying this hoping for movement. And the percentage out of the money is going to determine the width of the spread, depending on where the SPX is at the time. So a lot of times you're going to be paying around $15 to $20, and it can go up to 30, and that will change as you go back in time. You can see back last fall it was 25 wide. You go back in time farther, it changes even more. And so we've got the backtest running from 2020. So the first thing is, let's just do this. 11/14 is the start date. So let's run it through when we stopped running it to yesterday. So this is going to give us kind of an up-to-date look. And as you can see, it hasn't done great. It was still positive expectancy, but a 2% capture rate, 2.5% is nothing really to write home about. And so let's look at this. Here's one of the interesting things. Even though it's won 4 out of the last 5 times here, but it had a spell where it lost quite a bit. And because you were paying close to the width of the spread, that is not a great risk reward. So the cool thing is we have a world-class backtester. So let's do something to change that. So there's a couple things you could do. You could make the spread wider, and you could change this to 0.75. So let's just play around with that. So this is going to cost more, but what it will do is allow for movement during times when you have big movement. The spread will be wider. So as you can see, here's a 45 wide, went all the way. This almost went all the way, went all the way, went all the way, went all the way. Let's keep going. Let's see what else we can find. And I haven't previewed any of these backtests, so I have no idea. And right now we're just running them since November 14. This is just showing you how easy it is to iterate. So here's what's happening now. If we go 1% out, we're getting even more expensive. Why? Because our shorts are getting farther away from the money. So this is still positive expectancy. Now, what's going on in this one is because we're only allocating 2.5%, we're not even getting trades all the time because this is so expensive. So we've got to bump up our allocation to 5%. When we do that, you can see that here, this period, this year, the last 90 days or so have still been pretty rough. Trade actually did pretty well until then. And as you can see, you get some of these. Here's a 55 wide, 50 wide, but you're paying a lot more. Again, that's because the shorts are farther away. So your longs are still very expensive and you're getting less of a discount. 9.8% capture rate, pretty decent. Now, we're just looking at 62 trades, so this is not a statistically significant sample. Let's do one other thing, though. Let's try to make it to where our longs, so we're 1% wide on this. So let's do 1% wide, but we're going to make our longs farther out of the money. So this is going to create a tent of death here. If we don't have movement, you've got to have movement. Interesting. So this is kind of the same-ish performance on the graph where it had a pretty good start to the year, but the last 3 months have been rough. Our capture rate is higher. So let's look at this one. How wide are these? You can see that it's like 60 wide on the put side here. It's going to vary, again, depending on exactly where the strike is at when the trade is placed. And we're just doing it every day. And it's pretty well known that Mondays are usually not super positive expectancy for RICs. So we'll test it without Mondays at the end. but you get a little bit better risk rewards here. So these days when you do have movement, so we had like a nice little move here, over 100 points. You 4x your money, 4x your money. And as you can see, it does hit the tent and die. And sometimes it dies partially, but if you hit a winner, the winners can be pretty big. So here would have been a bad sequence. 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. But when you hit a couple winners in a row, you can 2x, 3x, 4x your money. Again, because we're using percentages, it's not constant how wide it is and what it costs. Let's just for fun, let's just run this back the same time period we ran the first one. And let's see how this one does. So this is a true Rick in that you are 0.5% out of the money and you do need some movement. So right now we're going to run this back test for over 5 years. So this is going to give us a more statistically significant data size. And what it's going to do is, number one, it will make us susceptible to a death where the trade goes to zero. If it dies in the middle of the tent, and there we go. Look, almost 500 trades, longer time period. We captured COVID in here. Got our MAR up a little bit. And again, I left it at 5%. To make it even, we should probably take this back down to 2.5%. Just to make it consistent with the first one. And that's going to impact all this. So our MAR is going to change. The drawdown and the CAGR are both going to change. And as I always say, these numbers are contextual to each other. So just saying a number without the context is not super helpful. So in this case, we're looking at a debit trade with over 5 years of data, and we're testing it at a 2.5% allocation on a trade that can go to zero. So we're risking up to 2.5% of our account every time we put the trade on. We definitely have sequence risk. What's interesting is even though we cut the allocation in half, our MAR stayed the same. Look at that capture rate. This might be worth an idea to continue to expand on. So you can look and see, even in higher VIX, it can go to zero. And there is this significant drawdown, even at a 2.5% allocation. And remember, it can be expensive. And honestly, the VIX relationship is interesting because in the beginning of April, that is when we had all the tariff drama. So there were days when, look at this move here. Oh my gosh. Could have made it very wide and captured the move. So the pricing is going to be all over the map again. But this is super interesting. And if you look at the graph, you will see, as we said, we're in like a 90-day-ish, 60-day-ish drawdown. But you can look at this historically and say, okay, well, here was a time period when we went from last August to last December. Imagine if you had this trade on, you stopped trading it. You missed out on all these because the games came in bunches. You can look and see too. It'll go on long periods where it does well. And then it'll go in these, here's a dip, here's a dip, here's a dip, here's a dip. We're in a dip now. Here's a dip, here's a dip, here's a dip, here's a dip, here's a dip. So how significant is this dip? Well, you can backtest it. You can look. And so the whole idea with this is it's trivially easy. You saw how quick that backtest ran. And again, we're on SPX. It's cash settled. All there is entry slippage, and we have some closing and opening fees. Now, let's do the one other thing that I talked about, which is instead of doing it on 5 days a week, we're going to do it on every day but Monday. And this is going to eliminate some of the trades, but not a lot. Monday is more often than not a VIX up day. So we had 38.2 win percentage, a MAR of 2. Let's see what it compares to when we just do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we don't trade this bad boy on Mondays. Well, here's what's interesting. It did a little bit better. The MAR actually wasn't quite as high. Win percentage, capture rate. 27% capture rate is probably worth inspiring some backtesting of your own. And it wins less than half the time. But why is it worth backtesting? We'll look at your winners compared to your losers. Both the average and the max is significant. With a trade like this, you're just getting in, your ride or die. Entry slippage is there. No exit slippage because there's no exit. The exit's the expiration. So it can go to zero. It can also max gain. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more ideas. The number of people that just are using the one back test is kind of mind blowing. Find a back test where the risk reward makes sense. Because with RICs, a lot of them, they can go to zero. If you're not buying your longs at the money, they can certainly go to zero. So find some where the risk reward makes sense. This is SPX. It's an expensive vehicle. So one lot here you can lose in the backtest lost $2,700. So keep that in mind. Find something that makes sense for you and your backtests. This is Matt from Option Omega. If you're interested in this kind of content that's data driven and verifiable, we have a daily YouTube show right here on the channel. Come on in. We have a great community. People, we show backtest basically about every single day and have an awesome community. We have monthly and annual subs available for backtesting, and we're launching our automation platform real soon. Thanks for checking out the video. Have a good one.